Hello trainers in training, today on Pokécology we are going to cover extraterrestrial Pokemon. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that all the research data presented here is going to be mainly from the games, mixed with some speculation based on the Pokemon's habitat, biology, and other supporting game data. I'm sticking to these sources mainly because sources like the anime are a little less reliable. For example, like in the anime, they mention that Magikarp is not edible, it's all scales and bones, but in the games, multiple times we can see that many Pokemon actually eat Magikarp. Also, we won't be covering any interdimensional Pokemon in this video. Pokemon like Arceus, the Ultra Beasts, Giratina, these Pokemon are more from other dimensions than they are from outer space. Now that that's out of the way, let's start talking about alien Pokemon. Our first resident of outer space is Deoxys, the DNA Pokemon. Deoxys was created when the DNA of a space virus was exposed to and mutated by an unknown laser beam. It's unknown if this mutation process is part of its biology or if Deoxys was created by pure happenstance. Moving on to its physiology, the brain of Deoxys is actually the purple crystal that's in its chest. This purple crystal also provides Deoxys with all of its unique powers. These powers include shooting laser beams from its chest, psychokinetic powers, and rapid regeneration. Much like viruses in real life, Deoxys probably doesn't need food to survive, instead using its regenerative ability to sustain itself. What's really interesting about this ability is that viruses normally can't reproduce by themselves. They need a host.
Pokemon.
It's possible that Deoxys can somehow infect bacteria and other small organisms surrounding it in the air to rapidly regenerate its form. This Pokemon's viral abilities give it the power to transform into one of 3 forms, allowing it to adapt to numerous combat situations, mirroring how real viruses adapt and evolve to infect resistant hosts in real life. The place of Deoxys in the galaxy's food chain is still pretty unknown, if it even has a place at all. As far as we know, Deoxys isn't prey or predator to any Pokemon in the known universe, and we don't really know the range of organisms or organism that the viral form of Deoxys was intended to infect. Coming in at over 65 feet long, our second spacefaring Pokemon is Eternatus, the poison and dragon type Pokemon. Eternatus is the largest Pokemon ever recorded, yes, even bigger than Wailord, and it arrived on Earth from a meteor 20,000 years ago. Eternatus' main food source is energy, and while the exact energy it feeds on is never really specified, it's most likely infinity energy. Eternatus possesses the ability to convert this energy into Dynamax energy. This Dynamax energy then gathers within the pink energy core that's located within its ribcage-like structure. This energy core is what fuels and sustains Eternatus. If it loses a large amount of this energy and can't replenish it, it becomes incapacitated. Now you might be asking yourself, what is infinity energy? What is Dynamax energy? So let's go over them both very briefly so you're caught up with the basics. Let's start with infinity energy. Infinity energy could actually be a whole video by itself, but I'll go over the very basics of it here. Infinity energy at its core is basically the bioenergy of Pokemon. The special bioenergy of Pokemon is what fuels processes such as evolution. The infinity energy created from bioenergy can actually be used to power a lot of different things. Things such as Megastones, which cause Mega Evolution, AZ's ultimate weapon that ended the war 3,000 years ago, and rockets capable of warping space-time created by scientists at the Moss Deep Space Center. As for Dynamax energy is the result of Eternatus absorbing that infinity energy and distributing it through itself and the world around it. All of the Dynamax energy present in Galar is actually energy that leaked out from Eternatus when it was defeated by Zacian and Zamazenta thousands of years ago. It's also worth noting that the wishing stars and wishing pieces used by trainers to trigger the Dynamax phenomenon are actually pieces of Eternatus' body. Dynamax energy can basically be described as overloaded infinity energy, which is how you get your giant Pokemon. Eternatus can fire this Dynamax energy from his energy core in the form of large beams. But that's not all, because when Eternatus absorbs a huge amount of energy, it will enter its Eternamax form. In this form, Eternatus becomes a whopping 328 feet long. It's likely that the physical form of Eternatus is more like a vessel for the actual energy core, its form growing and changing based on the amount of energy it has. It's implied in its Pokédex entry that the Eternamax form is actually the original form, and the normal form of Eternatus that we usually see is the weakened, low energy state. While in its Eternamax form, the massive amounts of energy going in and out of Eternatus has a lot of devastating effects on the world around it. Effects such as forcing Pokemon to Dynamax, preventing Pokemon from Dynamaxing, and warping space-time. Currently, it's unknown if Eternatus is the only one of its kind, or if it's part of a larger species. If a larger species does exist, they'd likely behave similarly to the Eternatus we've observed, seeking out large quantities of energy that it can absorb to sustain itself. It even could be possible that Eternatus crash landing on the planet 20,000 years ago wasn't really an accident. Now, Deoxys and Eternatus are actually the only two Pokemon that are 100% confirmed to have originated from outer space. But don't worry, because I'm gonna go over all of the heavily implied and rumored extraterrestrial Pokemon here as well. And we're gonna start with a couple of the most famous ones, being Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable. I'm sure many of you already know this, but Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable are heavily rumored to be from the moon. While we don't have anything in the way of hard evidence to confirm that they are from the moon, there are certainly a lot of clues that point us in that direction, such as large gatherings of Clefairy dancing around in front of the moonlight at night. It's actually rumored that Clefairy and Clefable can absorb moonlight into their wings, which gives them their floaty-like jump. This moonlight may also be the source of their power and an alternate source of energy that they can feed on. It's also worth noting that Clefairy can only undergo evolution to Clefable through the use of a moonstone. As far as what these Pokemon feed on, it's a little hard to say. They've been known to drink dew to sustain themselves, but not much else is known in the way of food. And we know these Pokemon have extremely sensitive ears that are used to avoid a lot of conflict.
What's all that yelling?
So it's unlikely they're carnivorous. This makes the idea of them feeding on moonlight a lot more likely. As far as what eats these Pokemon, there's a couple different things to consider. Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable usually prefer living in caves, which doesn't have a lot of predators that would normally prey on them. Pokemon that live in caves, such as Mount Moon, like Onix and Paris, usually prefer eating minerals and tree roots and don't really prey on other Pokemon. However, it could be possible that Zubat suck on the blood of Clefairy from time to time. There are also instances of these Pokemon being found alongside Arbok, which might prey on them. These Pokemon have also been sighted at the Giant Chasm, which is where Kyurem, the legendary Pokemon, lives. Kyurem is usually rumored to hunt at night, which is when Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable are the most active. Speaking of Kyurem, he is also one of our rumored extraterrestrial Pokemon. Kyurem, like other Pokemon on our list, was said to arrive on Earth via a meteor. However, the form we know it by now was not its original form. Kyurem, Zekrom, and Reshiram were all said to be a part of the same dragon Pokemon that arrived on Earth via that meteor I just mentioned. Sometime after the meteor crashed on Earth, this original dragon Pokemon split into the three legendary Pokemon we know today. However, it's actually still possible to get a little glimpse of what this original dragon Pokemon looked like. Using an item called the DNA splicers,
A DNA strand like me.
it's actually possible to fuse Kyurem with either Zekrom or Reshiram again. Kyurem can't be fused with both of them at the same time, but seeing both halves of this dragon, you can sort of piece together what it used to look like. Being separated from Zekrom and Reshiram actually left this Pokemon in an unstable state. It actually uses the power of ice that it harnesses to freeze over its body to stabilize its cellular structure. I should also mention that since Kyurem is rumored to be from outer space and Zekrom and Reshiram are part of the same dragon, that means Zekrom and Reshiram would also be extraterrestrial Pokemon. But again, we can't 100% confirm that Kyurem actually came from outer space, but it's heavily implied. Kyurem is also said to be a nocturnal hunter, with a lot of rumors suggesting that it goes and hunts for people and Pokemon to eat at night. Kyurem has only really been found living naturally in the wild in the Giant Chasm in the Unova region. It hasn't been known to venture too far from the Giant Chasm, making the list of possible prey include most of the Pokemon that live there. Kyurem is most likely an apex predator, and since we think it's carnivorous, a list of its possible prey includes Clefairy, Sneasel, Piloswine, Delibird, Excadrill, Seal, Basculin, Poliwhirl, Poliwrath, Mamoswine, and Audino, all who live in or near the Giant Chasm. Moving from legendary Pokemon to mythical Pokemon, let's talk about Mew. Mew is said to be the ancestor of all Pokemon. If this is true, then that means that all extraterrestrial Pokemon must originate from it as well. Meaning that multiple Mew have existed in other places in the universe besides Earth. Taking a quick detour to the Earth's oceans, we're going to talk about Starmie and Staryu. Starmie and Staryu are often rumored to be from outer space, mostly due to their star-like shape and a weird behavior they display at night. This weird behavior includes Starmie and Staryu flashing their red core at the stars in the night sky. In the wild, this behavior is actually used to communicate with other members of its species.
What are you wearing?
Khakis.
So flashing its core at the night sky has sparked a lot of rumors that other Starmie and Staryu exist in outer space. But this is wholly unconfirmed, and it's more likely that Starmie and Staryu are confusing the lights in the night sky with other members of its species. We see this sort of confused behavior in real life with creatures such as sea turtles. Keeping with the theme of the night sky, we are going to talk about Lunatone and Solrock next. These Pokemon have also been rumored to come from space, and Solrock draws its power from solar rays, and Lunatone draws its power from lunar rays. They haven't been known to feed on any Pokemon, rocks, or plants, so these lunar and solar rays are most likely where they get most of their energy. These Pokemon are a relatively new discovery, being found at a meteorite strike site around 40 years ago. After being discovered, these Pokemon have been found at many meteorite strike sites, such as Meteor Falls and the Giant Chasm. If these Pokemon were to have any natural predators, it's most likely to be Metang and Metagross. Metang and Metagross have been known to feed on Pokemon containing magnetic minerals, such as Nosepass and the like. Being made of rock, it's likely that Solrock and Lunatone contain a lot of magnetic minerals that Metang and Metagross would feed upon. Metang and Metagross have been observed to live in the same area as Solrock and Lunatone at the Giant Chasm, making their predator and prey relationship more likely. The last unconfirmed extraterrestrial Pokemon that we're going to talk about today is perhaps the most obvious, LGM and Beheeyem. LGM and Beheeyem are psychic-type Pokemon that are heavily speculated to come from outer space, being found after a UFO crash in the desert of the Pokemon world. However, it's hard to have any hard data on whether LGM and Beheeyem actually emerged from this UFO. This is large in part by LGM and Beheeyem possessing the ability to use their psychic powers to control the brains and memories of other creatures. So even if there were any witnesses to LGM and Beheeyem actually being extraterrestrial, it's likely they had their memories altered before we could actually get some confirmation.
Who are you? Really?
Really? I am just a figment of your imagination.
It's worth noting that when LGM is placed in front of a television set, strange images of what is said to be their homeworld will appear on the TV screen. However, nothing is really known about this location. We don't know where it is, or if it even exists at all. LGM and Beheeyem also seem to use strange patterned flashes from the dots on their fingers to communicate between members of its species. However, as it stands today, we haven't been able to decode these messages and figure out what they're saying to each other. LGM and Beheeyem have only been found in a few places in the wild, and it's likely they don't have many natural predators due to their mind control abilities. But during the events of Black and White, Beheeyem used to be found in Celestial Tower and on Route 14. I mention this because in Black and White 2, 2 years after the events of Black and White, Absol can now be found on Route 14 instead of Beheeyem. And in Black and White, Absol used to only be on the neighboring Route 13. This is a significant note because Absol is actually a Dark-type Pokemon, which is immune to Psychic-type attacks, which may mean that Absol is immune to the mind control abilities of LGM and Beheeyem. This makes me speculate Absol as a possible predator towards Beheeyem, driving it out of Route 14 between Black and White and Black and White 2. Some supporting evidence I have for this theory is that in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Absol can be found on Route 120, whereas LGM can actually be found on the neighboring Route 121. Though no Absol have actually been sighted on Route 121 yet, it's possible they may start migrating over there to feed on the LGM, just like the Absol started migrating to the Beheeyem's habitat in Unova.
I will find you, and I will kill you.
As far as for what LGM and Beheeyem actually feed on, we don't have any confirmed data about this, but there's an interesting entry in the Pokemon Sword Pokedex that might give us a clue. The Pokedex entry states that whenever a Beheeyem visits a farm, a double mysteriously disappears. While we don't know for sure if LGM and Beheeyem are actually feeding on this Pokemon, they must get their energy from somewhere, and something is being done with these double that we don't know about. And with that, we've covered extraterrestrial Pokemon and rumored extraterrestrial Pokemon. Please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos in this series. I definitely have video ideas for the ecology of the Pokemon stratosphere and like sort of the high altitude areas in the Pokemon world, as well as the oceans. I think that would be a pretty big multi-part series if you wanted me to do something like that. Yeah, I love Pokemon ecology and biology. This video took me a super long time to make. I'm actually recording this audio right now about a year after I started making this video. I just sort of came back to this video on and off, so it took a lot out of me. There's the biggest editing project I've ever done. Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more videos like this or other cursory videos centering around Pokemon, please let me know. Comment down below your suggestions, or if you want me to cover a particular Pokemon or biome or topic about Pokemon. Go ahead, just let me know, and I'll throw it in the hat, and we'll see if we can do it one day. But thanks so much for watching, and peace out, guys. Have a good day. Hope you learned something about Pokemon.